Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we're unpacking a truly fascinating ancient text that tackles a problem literally all of us face. I mean, how on earth do we actually achieve spiritual purity and peace while navigating the absolute chaos of our modern daily lives? We're going to explore the core teachings of the Upasaka Sila Sutra, really breaking down its brilliant, structured path to perfection. So, if you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by the demands of the world, well, this explainer is going to give you a phenomenal framework for finding some real clarity.
Right off the bat, the sutra gives us this incredible core validation. Lay people are entangled by many worldly causes. It openly acknowledges that this path, it's inherently harder for everyday people, like you and me, than it is for monastics. We've got jobs, bills, conflicts, just endless daily distractions, right? But here's the thing. This text doesn't judge that entanglement. Instead, it offers us a really specific, practical armor to wear while we walk right through the middle of it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We're going to traverse these ancient teachings by looking at 5 crucial pillars. First, the roots of karma. 2, the anatomy of patience. 3, diligence as the engine. 4, the mirror of meditation. And finally, 5, the perfection of wisdom.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the roots of karma, mind over matter.
So let's look at how this builds a foundational psychological framework. The sutra makes a pretty radical claim right away. Absolutely all actions, whether good or bad, are rooted entirely in the mind and its intentions. It offers a super nuanced view of karma, showing us that intention drastically outweighs just the mere physical action. For instance, think about it. You can have a physically light action, but if it's backed by a heavy, malicious intention or a really dark vow, it carries massive karmic weight. Conversely, a heavy physical action, like say accidental harm, carries much less karmic weight if the intention behind it was light or non-existent. A vow or just an intense mindset, that is your true anchor. Basically, the mind is the architect and the body, that's just the tool.
And I mean, why does managing these daily thoughts actually matter so much? Well, look at this timeline. Our fleeting daily thoughts literally dictate our trajectory across staggering, awe-inspiring cosmological timelines. A human life might range anywhere from 10 to 80,000 years, depending on the era, sure, but the heaven realms, those stretch into the millions of years. And the formless realms, get this, they last for up to 80,000 great kalpas. To put that into perspective, one great kalpa is an unfathomable span of time involving the birth and destruction of entire universes. The mind you're cultivating today is echoing into an unimaginably vast eternity. It's wild.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer flexibility of karma. We have present report, birth report, later report, and no report. The sutra teaches that karma isn't just some rigid, fatalistic punishment. If you actively cultivate wisdom and a pure mind today, you can actually transform a super heavy karmic debt that was meant for a future life into a much lighter consequence experienced right now, in the present. You literally have the power to rewrite your karmic timeline through conscious daily practice. How cool is that?
Moving right along to Section 2, the anatomy of patience, deflecting the world.
So if the mind is our foundation, how do we protect it from the daily grind? Well, we use the armor of patience. And the sutra performs this brilliant, incredibly sharp deconstruction of an insult here, transforming patience from this abstract, kind of frustrating virtue into a highly practical cognitive exercise. Just think about the last time someone insulted you. The text breaks it down perfectly. First, a word is spoken over time, syllable by syllable, right? By the time the last syllable is spoken, the first is actually already gone. Second, what even is that sound? It's merely breath and wind. Third, wind is entirely external to your true self. And step 4, therefore, logically, there is absolutely nothing to be angry at. The insult is, practically speaking, an illusion.
As the text so beautifully puts it, the world's scolding is just wind. If I'm not angry at external wind, why am I angry at the internal? I love this. If a huge gust of wind blows outside your window, you don't stand there and scream at it, right? So when someone yells at you, why on earth let that wind get inside your mind? This analogy brilliantly highlights that anger is an active, illogical choice. Honestly, getting angry only serves to pull us right back into those negative karmic cycles we were just talking about.
Which brings us to Section 3, diligence as the engine, sustaining the practice.
Now, to maintain that level of cognitive patience day in and day out, it requires some serious energy. The sutra defines this diligence as far, far more than just simple hard work. It's an active, relentless 4-part engine.
Check this out. You eliminate evil before it even arises. You destroy it if it's already appeared. You generate new good that hasn't existed yet, and you constantly expand the good that's already there. For a layperson surrounded by worldly distractions, this relentless momentum is really the only way to keep your spiritual head above water.
And this brilliantly illustrates the kind of effort we're talking about, using two really powerful physical metaphors. First up, we have drilling for fire. If you're rubbing sticks together to make a fire, you need continuous, unbroken effort. If you stop halfway to take a break, well, the heat dissipates and you get absolutely no fire. Then, on the other side, we have the goldsmith. A goldsmith has to apply effort, sure, but they have to carefully regulate the heat. If they apply way too much extreme heat all at once, they just burn and ruin the gold. True diligence is about finding that perfect balance. It's continuous, it's unyielding, but it's carefully regulated so you don't just burn yourself out.
All right, on to Section 4, the mirror of meditation, the inner sanctuary.
Okay, so once you have the engine of diligence running and the armor of patience fully equipped, you can finally start building your inner sanctuary. The sutra defines dhyana, or meditation, not merely as the physical act of just sitting quietly, but as a really profound state of being. It's the absolute convergence of your precepts, your compassion, joy, and equanimity. When it's properly cultivated, your mind becomes a perfectly clear mirror, one that accurately reflects all the good and evil in the world without being distorted by it. It anchors your mind like the mythological Mount Sumeru, completely unshaken and totally unmoved by the violent winds of worldly chaos.
And from this grounded, mirror-like state, true meditation naturally just expands outward into deep compassion. The sutra lays out a highly structured, progressive target for this practice. First, you start where it's easiest, right? Directing pure compassion toward your loved ones. Once you've actually mastered that, you extend it to neutral parties, people you pass on the street but don't really know at all. And finally, the ultimate test, you radiate that exact same level of pure compassion toward your absolute worst enemies. You learn to genuinely see their suffering too.
And finally, we reach Section 5, the perfection of wisdom, the ultimate realization.
So we've arrived at the final perfection. Wisdom is really the absolute culmination of the layperson's journey, and the text outlines a beautifully structured three-stage path to get there. Looking at the table, first is wisdom from hearing. This is your foundation, simply learning the words, reading the literal teachings, or, hey, listening to an explainer just like this one. Second is wisdom from thinking. This is the integration stage where you actually sit down, ponder, and truly understand the deep underlying meaning of those words. But the final stage, that's mastery. Wisdom from practicing. This is where you realize the truth not just through concepts, but through direct, lived, daily experience.
So the crucial point is how this wisdom actually manifests in a person. A truly wise layperson deeply understands causes and effects, and because of this, they completely avoid arrogance, literally no matter how much knowledge they accumulate. They recognize that the real enemy isn't that annoying coworker or some frustrating situation. The greatest enemy is always the mind's own internal afflictions. And beautifully, they use their wisdom to help others, tailoring their insights perfectly to the specific capacities of the people around them.
Which brings our explainer perfectly full circle. The text drops this stunning realization. Of all drawings, none surpasses the mind. The mind draws afflictions, afflictions draw karma, and karma draws the body. This is the serene, ultimate authority of the Upasaka Sila Sutra. Absolutely everything we experience, all the joy, all the chaos, it begins and ends on the canvas of your own mind. You are, quite literally, the artist of your karmic reality.
And so, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. If the mind is truly the root of all karma, and every single intention carries weight into eternity, what reality are your thoughts painting right now? Take a moment today to really look at your canvas. Keep learning, keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next explainer.